All right, good evening. We are doing a special training today. And what's our theme for this year? What is it? Writing your own song, right? Okay. And many of you have already started writing your own songs or have thought about maybe a melody. Okay. All right. So, what I really want you to do so that everybody can hear is please don't, if you have a guitar, please don't play it unless I ask you to. Okay. And if you are on a bench and it's squeaky, try not to squeak it. Okay. All right. Do your best. All right. I'm also looking for someone that's doing an awesome job in here to get a special treat today. Okay. And if nobody's doing good, then I'm gonna get the special treat and I'm gonna smiley eat it. Okay.
He's gonna eat it in front of everybody.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So today we are talking about composing our own song. We had talked about the composers this last year, and we talked about the different musical eras. We talked about composers like Bach and Beethoven and Haydn and all those people, right? And why do we call them a composer? Because they compose or write music, right? And we want you to be able to do the same thing and write your own music. So we're going to talk about some different elements of music writing today so that you can put together your own melody and start adding different things to it so that you can even play it for the next recital. Okay? All right. So you might be wondering, why is songwriting so important? Well, that's how we create great music, is by sitting down and thinking of a good melody that we can start adding to and create a wonderful song out of it. It can be a little bit intimidating at first. Why? Why can it be intimidating? Yeah, you think you're going to mess up, or like you're going to say, oh, this isn't a good song. Yes. Yeah, it might take lots of time. So who here has ever ridden a bike before? Raise your hand. You've ever ridden a bike. At some point in your life, you've gotten on a bike and you've rode it. Okay? All right? So when you first got on the bike, were you just awesome? You were just crushing it? No. You were probably falling down. Yes.
My brother, when he first rode his bike without training wheels, he did it the first time.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, it does take time though, right? It takes time and practice and repetition in order to get better and better at it. So, quiet. So, writing songs is just like that, where it's going to take some repetition to get better and better at it. The first time, you're probably not going to be great at it. But as we continue to go over it and make little revisions, it gets better and better. Do you think the first time Bach wrote a song that it was just really good? Like everyone's like, wow. No. He threw away a lot of pieces of paper at the beginning because he didn't like the stuff that he was putting together. But as he continued to do it, he got better and better. And that's what I want you to do, to not give up with it. Creativity is just like a muscle, okay? The more you work it, the stronger it's going to get. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to be talking about with the songwriting is finding inspiration for your song, okay? So there are different things that we can do to find inspiration for the song that we're trying to create, okay? Inspiration is where your great song begins, okay? So ideas for inspiration. You see some up there. What would be a good thing that I could do to try and find inspiration to write a song? Ethan? Nature. Okay. What kind of things about nature? What do you think?
Probably the sun, moon, trees.
Yep. Maybe you're walking outside and you see maybe a whole flock of birds fluttering over, right? You could say, oh, I could make a song like that, okay? Maybe a very quick song like that as they're flying away, right? Okay, that would be an example. What else? Different emotions, right? When you hear a certain song, it can create a certain emotion in you. David, I want you to play a song, and then we are going to guess what emotion he's trying to create with that song. Go ahead. what kind of emotion do you feel when you hear that song? Skylar? Sad a little bit, right? Okay. Is that a major or minor sound, like the kinds of chords that we're hearing in there? Minor, yes. Yes, Ethan. It sounds what? Common, okay. All right, calming. Okay, I misunderstood you. Calming, okay. Yes, it was a very calming song. It's kind of like relaxed, right? Could you hear this maybe in like a coffee shop where everyone's sitting down with their papers and their glasses going down like that on their nose, right? Does it kind of sound like that?
No.
Maybe. Okay. Okay. It doesn't sound like a song where there's a car chase going on, right? It doesn't sound like that. Okay. All right. So we can match things according to emotion as well. Now, I want them to play another one with a different emotion. I want you to guess what this one is. Okay. What kind of emotion do you get from that one? Elisha? Like a pirate chasing, right? Because that's called what? Yeah, Pirates of the Caribbean. I think the song of that is "I'm a Pirate." I think is the name of it, right? Or he's a pirate. That's right. So it sounds like maybe some pirates fighting and all of that, right? Okay, so it gives a different emotion to it. Okay, so the emotion can be an inspiration as well. Okay, and then you can even look at other pieces of music and say, I like that piece of music. I want to see what I can steal from it. I mean, borrow from it, right? Okay. All right. Okay. So we can listen to other music and say, ooh, I like what they did, that place in that song. Okay. So today we're gonna listen to a couple of different pieces of music and listen to what other composers have already done and see if there's certain elements in there that we can learn from when we're writing our own music, okay? So, next thing is finding a theme or a mood, okay? So, what do you want to tell in your song? Each song is basically telling a story for other people, all right? You are telling a story and you want people to feel a certain way when they listen to your song. You're going to have a certain feeling. You're going to paint a picture in the listener's mind, okay? And, you know, what's the story trying to tell? Is it a song about falling in love? Is it a song about pirates fighting each other? Is it a song about a swan that's floating on a lake? Is it a song about people chasing other people, right? What is the song about? And is it something that's maybe joyful and uplifting, or maybe it's writing about a challenge or a problem that you're dealing with? Okay, there's one song. It's called something about a lost penny. What's it? Yep. And yeah, rage over a lost penny. Right? You ever lost something before, and you're like, oh, where is that? And you're looking all over the house and you're upset because you can't find the thing you lost, right? Okay?
That happened to me one time.
Yep.
And the first thing I did, not the first thing, but when I searched the whole house, I saw nothing. I went to sleep the next day. I woke up. I felt something hard in my pillow. I turned it over. It was there.
So there was frustration at the beginning. So you could take that and put it into a song, right? All right, so David's going to play that song. This is called Rage Over a Lost Penny. Okay, so it's like bump, 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 bump. Does it sound like he's like getting a little upset? But it also kind of sounds kind of bright and cheery too, doesn't it? It kind of sounds like a bright, cheery song. Yeah, it sounds kind of like an old song. Yep. Okay, so you want the mood to match your theme. So we talked about We talked about the story that we want to tell, and then what mood matches your theme. All right, we could play something that's happy and lighthearted, that has kind of a bright, bouncy mood in a major chord with an upbeat tempo. David's going to play something for us now. Okay, that sounds bright and cheery, right? Okay, has a certain feel to it, like bum, 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 right? Very nice and light and cheery and joyful mood to it. Hello, we're doing a special class today about writing music, so you can have a seat. Okay, all right, now we just heard a real bright and cheery one. Now we're going to hear one that sounds sad. He's now going to do a sad sound. Okay. All right. Did that sound a little bit relaxing as well? All right. Maybe a little bit relaxing. It's kind of a sad sound to it. Okay, so maybe that's boring for you, right? Others may feel a different emotion with that. So you want the mood to match the theme, and then if we had like a theme about excitement and adventure, that's going to be probably a lot faster paced, right? It's going to move a lot faster. Okay. So the last one, that was a slower song, right? It was sad. It was slower. Here's one that's much faster. Very good. Okay. All right. So definite a different mood, a different theme altogether, right? One thing I wanted to talk about inspiration real quick. Years ago, with my oldest daughter, I wanted to help her to be able to compose music, which is what she does now. She composes music all the time. It does arrangements, okay? And she makes her own songs, and we've sang them before even, okay? But what I wanted to do to kind of get that creative element to come out is I would pick 3 notes and I would give them to her and I'd say, I want you to create a song out of those 3 notes. And she would say, Dad, that's too hard. I can't make something out of that. So I'm going to do that with David today. And I am going to pick A, F, and D. Okay, so if you play those together, it sounds like this. Okay, is that major or minor? Yeah, you can come on in here. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know you went that way. Yeah, we're having a special class in here today about composing music. Yep. All right, so I gave him those 3 notes. So I have a F, D. Is that major or minor? Does it sound sad or happy? Sad. Okay, so that's our minor. All right, David, go ahead and take those 3 notes, and he's now going to compose a melody for us based on those 3 notes. Go ahead. Okay. Does that have a kind of a sad feel to it? Right? Okay, now we're going to change the mood just slightly, and here's all that we're going to do. I'm going to tell David to move his right hand up on the piano so it's a higher sound, and we're going to do that same thing and see if it changes the mood and kind of the theme of it, okay? All right, so go ahead and do that, David. change kind of the feel of the song. Okay, so that is a great way of trying to bring out some of your creativeness too. Okay, you had a question, Ethan?
Something that I figured out is the faster it is, like the more like interactive.
Yes. Okay. So the faster the tempo, right? We're going to talk tempo in a little bit. The faster the tempo of the song, the more energy it has, right? Okay. If you think of someone that's walking real slow, right? It's like low energy. Or if someone that's running by really fast, right? Very different feel. Okay. And the song is going to match that as well.
Like Beethoven.
Right, like Beethoven. Right. So we want to experiment on it on whatever your instrument is. We have piano, guitar, violin students next hour. So you want to start experimenting on your instrument. Now, are there certain songs that are written for that particular instrument too?
Yes.
Yes. Why? Why is that?
Because of the how they can play it, how you can change like the how high it goes and how low it goes.
That's right. So there's a certain range on your instrument. Okay, so that's number one. And then there are certain things that you can do on your instrument that you might not be able to do on another instrument, right? What's one thing that you can do on your instrument that on your guitar that you can't do on a piano?
Pick.
Right, pick. Okay,
You can tune it.
too. Yep. Is
You can like discover.
is yours tuned up?
Yeah.
Okay, can I see it real quick?
You can do faster.
Faster than piano.
All right. So one example, something you can do on a guitar that you can't do on a piano.
Like chords.
Vibrato.
Like
David, try and do vibrato. Doesn't work, right? Okay. So that could be one of those elements in your song that's written for that particular instrument, right? So there's certain things that you can do on that instrument that you might not be able to do on another one. Okay. All right. Now, we're going to talk about creating the melody next. All right. So your melody, is it going to be something that's smooth and flowing, or is it going to be really sharp and rhythmic? Okay. I'm going to have David play the same melody. The first time it's going to be smooth and flowing. If you think of like legato, right? It's all smooth and connected. And the next one's going to be sharp and much more rhythmic. Okay. Now, very sharp and rhythmic next. Okay, very different feel, right? What's the second one feel like? Like if you're trying to paint a picture in your head of what's going on with the first one, da 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 da. That sounds like what? Very flowing, right? Could you think of like maybe the flowing of water, right? And then the second one, go ahead and play the second one. Okay, all right. So it's a different feel of that song, right? Okay. Now, first thing we want when we're creating the melody is the thing that people are going to hum after they hear you play your song, right? What would be an example of a melody that you've heard before? There's lots of them. Give me an example. Right, go ahead. Hum it. Right, that is the melody of the song. The first thing that we want to do when we're creating a song is to create our melody, right? Okay, and that's the way that someone's going to remember that song as well. Okay, so you want to have a melody that you can create for other people. All right, so think about some famous pieces of classical music. There's a melody that you hear that you can hum back, and it's very specific to that song. Okay, the melody is often the most memorable part of that song, so you want it to really stick out. It's the tune that sticks in your head that you're humming later on. Okay, so we're going to listen to a couple of different songs with different melodies, and I want you to listen to what they do with the melody that really brings you into the song. The first one is going to be Beethoven's Für Elise. This is a very, very popular song. Does anybody want to hum this song for me? Anybody want to try? Da 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 da, ba da da, ba 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 ba. Right? Okay. So there you go. You know the melody and you're humming it. Okay. So we're going to listen. This is a very simple but delicate phrase that is very instantly recognizable. Your melody doesn't have to be very complex. There are melodies that are very, very popular that many, many people know. I'll give you an example of one of them. Happy birthday to you. That's the melody, right? Okay. It's very simple. Okay. Here's another one. Shh, listen. Here's another one. Right? Very simple melody. Okay. What is, shh, listen. What is the goal of that melody? It's to make little kids happy, right? And it does that. It's a happy kind of song. And it makes parents lose their mind from hearing it over and over again, right? Okay. Right, yeah. Okay. So we're going to listen to Für Elise. I want you to listen to the different elements of what he does with this melody, and then you'll hear all the other parts of it as well. Okay, it starts out very soft. Listen, it's very soft at the beginning here. Is it repeating the melody? Yes. That's something we're going to talk about. Repeating melody is a good thing. Then it's changing a little bit, right? This is like part B of it. Then it goes back to the beginning again. Original melody. It's very light and flowing, right? It's repeating that same, it's called motive again. All right, now listen. Big change, right? That changed a lot. And then it goes back, slows down, it goes back to the original theme, right? And there's little tiny variations of that main theme that you hear. Okay? All right. Did you hear all those little things? Starts out very quiet too, right? The dynamics, listen, the dynamics of a song are really important. What are the dynamics? What does that mean? What does that mean? Yep, the loudness of the song. So it comes from the word dynamo, where we get the word dynamite. Okay, that means the power of the song, right? Okay, the dynamics of that song means how loud or soft. It also talks about like if the song's getting louder and softer. Okay, so it's moving in the loudness of the song. Okay, all of those are really important because it will bring you into the song. Notice he started out da 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 da. It was very light, and then later on it went bam bam ba 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 ba. That was much louder, right? So it gave a contrast. Okay, so it's a much big contrast. Yes, and it was going faster too, which matched that new mood, right? It started out very quiet and relaxed, and then it got faster, right? And much more energetic. So it changed. Yes. Yes, you may. Okay. So next you want to use your theme and mood as the guide. Okay. You have a theme. When we listen to that, was there a theme to that song? Yes. What is it? Da 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 da. Right? That's the theme. And then it plays again. Da 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 da. Ba 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 bum. It changed a little bit at the end of it, right? To make it something unique. Because if we just kept doing the same thing over and over again, you're going to get really what? Bored, right? So you want to take your melody and make little changes in there to keep it very fresh and new. Okay. All right. David's going to take and just create a simple melody. And then he's going to change that melody a little bit on that next pass through to keep it sounding nice. Okay? All right. Okay, did you hear it?
Yeah.
Okay. What is the theme? Ba 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 bum bum. And then he did a bum bum bum, which is a third, 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 right? Okay. So he's using different intervals, which we're going to talk about. And then the next time through, da 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 da, bum bum bum. I think that's what you did, right? Okay, so he made a little variation on it so that it made it not boring, right? Okay, so that's important. Now he can make even more variations of it and make it more complex. Go ahead and do that. Okay, now go ahead and add in a harmony with it as well. What did he do at the end of that? Bum, bum, bum. Right, yes. He was playing softer, and then at the end, it got more aggressive a little bit, right? Kind of like at the climax of the song where it got much more intense, okay? So think about the little tiny variations that you can do in your song and in your melody to make it stand out a little bit more. Okay, next, we are going to listen to a couple of more of these famous melodies, and this next one's going to be Mozart's Eine kleine Nachtmusik, which in German means a little night music. Okay, this is a great example of a song that's very upbeat and joyful, and the notes are going to be moving very quickly and create a what kind of feeling? When the notes are moving fast, they create what kind of feeling? What's the feeling? Happy, excited, very energetic, right? How about songs that are very slow? Like da 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 ba 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 ba. Yeah, go to sleep. Okay? So that's going to be the opposite of that. It means slowing the energy down. Okay, so now we are going to listen to a little bit of the song and look at these fast movements and stepwise motion. Stepwise means that the intervals that we're using are lots of seconds, okay? That means moving from one note to the very next note. Go ahead and give an example of a stepwise motion. Okay? So, and even doing a melody like this. That's an example of a stepwise. It's stepping from one note to the very next note. We also call it a linear pattern. It just means it's going in a straight line. Maybe it's going back and forth, but it's still going in a straight line with how we hear it. So let's listen to that next. lots of stepping and going right in line. Not a whole bunch of jumping around, but one of the things that you definitely noticed in this bum, 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 right? Is that the theme? Yes, that's the thing that you're going to hum later on. Bum, 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 bum. What else did we mention in this one? What was something that really stuck out that he used, an element in the song that really stuck out? The what? Contrasting of loud and soft, and then also getting louder, right? It would get really loud, and then it would go very light, right? Very light afterwards, okay? So that was part of his theme, okay? So that's really important to listen to other songs and see what kind of elements that they're using that you might be able to borrow, not steal, borrow for your own music, okay? So you'll notice that it was a very fast kind of stepping motion, and it had a very energetic mood to it. Okay. Next, we're going to listen to Bach's Air on a G string. This is a different type of feel to it. And let me see here. This is another one that's stepping in the melody. It's kind of going more linear in the way that it's moving, and it's flowing without any big, large leaps to it, okay? So let's give an example of what it would mean by doing leaps in the song, whether instead of stepping. All right, so David's going to give some examples of doing leaps in the song where we're skipping a whole bunch of notes. All right, so that's the contrast of that. All right, so we're going to listen to Bach next. He'll be right back. So notice how it's just moving from one note to the next note, and it's stepping down or stepping up, right? So these would be those really connected types of melodies. All right. Experimenting with intervals. What is an interval? What does that mean? What's an interval?
The distance between two notes.
Yes, the distance between the two notes. So an example would be a third interval. David, play a third interval for us. Okay. That means you're skipping a note in between. All right. So we have a second interval, which would be right next to each other. Then a third. Then a fourth. A fifth. Sixth. Seventh. And the next one would be an eighth or an octave, right? So that's going to be that next note in the scale. Okay. So using intervals is really important as well in your music. All right, we've already talked about doing those linear melodies. That means doing lots of seconds where you're stepping from one note to the very next note. So now David's going to do a bunch of thirds in this next song. Good. All right, now add an accompaniment to it as well. that's where you'd be using some of those intervals. Yes, Skylar. Yes, you may. All right. So maybe you want to play a melody where it's moving in a certain direction in the song, or you want big leaps in the song. What would the big leaps in the song usually show us or show the audience? What's it trying to create? Yes. Huh? Well, it might be calming and then going into something more exciting, right? That might be why it makes that leap. Yes. Okay. Yeah, Ethan. Creating more emotion, right? So maybe it was very slow and then they start doing these big leaps and it's trying to get you excited about what's happening next in the song. Okay. All right. So no, you just have to move it a little bit. It gets stuck sometimes. So the next part here would be playing with rhythm. So what is the rhythm of your song? What does that mean? So if you've been here for one of our Saturday special events, we start out with a game, the rhythm game, right? So the rhythm is the beat of that song. So example would be, right? That would be the bum, 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 bum. Okay. A slower rhythm would be like, okay. The rhythm is also going to be set by the type of notes that you're using as well, right? What would be a very quick rhythm note? What would be a very quick rhythm note? That's going to move much faster. Yes. A 16th note, right? What would be a very slow rhythm note? You're going to be holding this much longer. Your whole note, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So if you're seeing a lot of those, it's probably going to be a little bit slower. Right? So it's going to go much faster. Okay. So even though Für Elise that we listen to has very simple notes that it's used in it, Beethoven makes it more interesting because he does a mix of long and short rhythms, okay? David is going to play something with long and short rhythms next. Hear that difference? Bum, 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 bum. Notice how it starts moving faster, right? Okay. So you can take any simple melody and then change the rhythm around a little bit, hold some notes longer, shorter for others, and then see the difference that it feels, all right? So let's do that next. I want you to just play a melody, and then I want you to change the rhythm afterwards. Okay? Now, very dramatic difference in the rhythm. Okay. Does it change how it feels? Yes, absolutely. Okay. Next is Chopin Nocturne in E flat major. It's not Chopin. It's not his name. It's not Chopin. Okay. This is slow, kind of flowing kind of movement, okay? It's like a dreamy kind of theme to it. Notice it's very smooth and connected. You don't hear these really choppy parts where there's staccato. Yes. Oh yeah, right? Maybe you're going through the art gallery. This would be one that would play, right? Okay. All right, next is to repeat and evolve in your melody. Repetition is very good for our melodies, all right? And remember what I said about when you repeat something in the melody, what do you do? What do you do?
Change it a little bit.
Change it a little bit. That's exactly it. Right. Okay. So you have repeated phrasing. Did we see that in Fur Elise? Da 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 da. And then what did it do? It did it again. Da 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 da. They just changed just the ending of it, and it made a different sound to it. Okay. So sometimes you might even want to hold a note a little bit longer than another one, just to change how that feels, to change the phrasing of it. Also, let's see. Tchaikovsky did a song called The Swan Lake, and he has a main theme that he plays in the song, but then he changes the rhythm and the harmony each time, okay, to make it a little bit more unique. And this keeps it engaging, but it's still reinforcing the main idea or the theme of the song. So we're going to listen to that next. Starts out very quiet and flowing, right? There's a surprise. You can Is it very light, like, oh, you can probably go to sleep? By the way, what instrument did they use to make it really loud? What was that? Not violins. The brass section, the trumpets and the French horns and all of those. So it was a very deep kind of bomb, right? So it was very light, okay? He had little variations of the theme that he was doing and made different rhythm changes in order to make it unique, okay? All right, now, the next thing, you could use your voice and hum out the melody and see what sounds good, all right? Sit down with your instrument and start playing it like your guitar and start playing a melody and say, does that sound good? Maybe I want to change this note so it sounds even better, right? Okay. And then, how do we capture our ideas? How do we capture ideas? What would be one way of taking that melody and then making sure that we don't forget it? What could we do? Yeah, we could write it down. How do we write that down? Hi, how are you? We're doing a special class today. So you're going to sit and I'm going to teach you about composing music, okay? Yep. We could write it down. We could record it. Who has access to a phone? Yeah. Okay. So you could record your melody. Okay. You could write it down into some sheet music as well. He'll have a seat in just a second when this class ends. Okay. All right. So you want to record it so that you don't forget your great idea. Now we're going to talk about chord progressions next. So after you've got your melody down, that you've worked on your melody and recorded your melody, you want to start adding some other elements into it. So that next part is called the chord progression. All right, so that's the chords that you're using and what order you're using them in your song, okay? So it's just simply a series of chords that are in a certain order. Think of it kind of like the underlying structure of your song. All right, and the chords are going to give your song some movement and emotion, and they're going to help to tell the story that you're trying to create with the song that you're working on. Most of the songs that you've ever heard only have like 3 or 4 chords in the entire song. Okay, that's it. All right, so you don't have to really overcomplicate things. Just pick out a couple of chords that are going to work really well with your song. It depends on the key signature of what you're playing your song into, of what chords you're going to pick out. But we're going to have David play a couple of different chord progressions for you next so that you can hear what they sound like. And if you have a guitar, don't play anything right now so that you can hear this. All right, so here is a common chord progression. This is called the 1, 4, 5, and 1. Does it kind of already sound like a song? Okay, now pulse it. Okay, pulse it even more. Bum, 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 bum. Okay. That's a very common chord progression. It just means these chords work really well with each other. So this is a real foundational one for a lot of different music. The next one is going to be for more emotional or uplifting songs. And this is going to be C, G, A minor, F. Already sounds like a song again, right? Okay, go ahead and add a melody in with that now. Emotional, right? Okay, maybe you're watching a movie and it's this dog is triumphant and he's getting away from the enemies and he's running through the woods and it's like this emotional kind of theme to it, right? I'm just making up a story. Okay. Next would be some more dramatic feel to it, and this one's going to be A minor, F, C, and G.
A minor, F, C, G.
A minor, F, C, and G. Okay. I'll play that again, and then I want you to add a melody in with it. Could we even change the melody even more with that? Absolutely we can, right? So you want to play around with the melody until you feel like this is what I want to tell in my story, okay? So you want to start out with some common progressions. Those are the ones that we just did now. There are other chord progressions. Those are not the only ones. Those are just some of the big ones that a lot of different songs use. Those 3 that we just played for you is like 90% of the music that you will hear. It's using those 3 different chord progressions. You want to make sure that your chords are matching to your melody, okay? If you don't match, it's not going to sound good. David's going to do that next, and he's going to not match the chords. This is harder to do because he's a trained musician, but we're going to do that next. Please don't play the guitar right now so that you can hear this, okay? All right, so he's going to play and he's going to not match up the chords right. Still making it sound good, David? Making it sound worse. All right, so there's some clashing elements in there, and sometimes you want a clash sound, right? So maybe you're watching a movie and something happens and there's a clash. There's that, right? Something's blaring, something that happened, right? You have that clash sound. You might want that in your song to help tell what's going on in the story. Then we want to talk about our major and minor chords. Major sounds like this. It's very bright, sunny, joyful. And here's minor. Okay, it's a little bit sadder, right? Play something that's a minor key, and then we're going to contrast that with major key. Go ahead. Okay, so that is a minor key. Does it kind of sound a little sad, maybe? Do you think you could probably study to that music, right? Kind of playing in the background. All right, now major. Yes, that's a much joyful, kind of bright, energetic kind of sound to it. All right, and then we can experiment with an inversion. All an inversion means is the way that the chord is played. All right, so an inversion would be playing the same notes together, but in a different order. So go ahead and do an inversion for C. Okay, now let's do this. We're going to have this C, and then this one. They're different because of where I put the notes in that order. So instead of doing a C, E, and G, I did a G, C, and E. So where I put the G in the order of those notes made it sound a little bit different. Do a C, E, and G for us again. Now do a G, C, E. Yeah. Okay. A little bit different feel of the sound. Okay. So if we're trying to change the emotion in the song, we do that. Okay. All right. And you want to keep it pretty simple. The rhythm we talked about a little bit already, that sets our movement through the song, and that kind of drives us forward as well. All right, any questions over what we covered today? No? Okay. So I want you to think about all these things as you're writing your melody for your song, okay? Many of you are going to be playing this for the recital, the next recital, okay? So work on those little elements, and we're going to keep building these out so that you can create a wonderful song. Yes, Melania? Huh?
She has a question.
Yes.
She wants to quit.
No.
Did you have a question? Yes. What's up? Sorry, I didn't hear you.